So in today's video, we're going to talk about intermittent fasting and how it relates to exercise. So in particular, we're going to talk about exercising in your fasting window. Okay, so in the period where you haven't eaten for a while, should you be doing exercise in that fasted state? Now, it really depends on a few factors. It depends on how well adapted you are to fasting. So in the initial phases, you might want to be a little bit cautious with that. As you become more fat adapted and as you become, as your blood sugar levels start to stabilize, then it can be a really good time to do lower to medium intensity exercise. So I'm a big advocate of doing walking in a fasted state. So especially if you've fasted since your evening meal the night before, maybe it's the morning, lunchtime, the next day, that's a fantastic time to go for a walk, a nice long walk, because walking is low intensity exercise, and you're going to be pretty much tapping into your fat stores. So if we were to eat a meal and then go for a walk or do a workout, essentially you're going to be burning that food energy. Whereas in that fasted state, the beauty is that we're going to be tapping into our fat stores. So it can actually accelerate the fat burning effect. And it also helps to teach your body to become a more efficient fat burner. So your body will make metabolic adaptions, different enzyme pathways, different physiological changes will happen in your body to help you mobilize and burn more fat. So doing that on a consistent basis, once you are fat adapted, or once you can at least have stable blood sugar levels, then it can be a really good idea to do lower intensity or medium intensity. But be guided by blood sugar symptoms. So what I mean by that is, a symptom of low blood sugar would be, perhaps if you get a little bit shaky, perhaps if you get, you start to, you can't think properly, your concentration goes, you start to get a little bit headachy, you might even start to feel a little bit faint. They're signs that potentially your blood sugar might be low. So it's probably not a good idea to exercise in that state. And it's probably a good idea to have something to eat if that's the case. But if you're okay and you don't have any of those symptoms, lower intensity exercise like walking or doing something like that is fantastic. Even medium intensity where we're perhaps weight training, some lighter cardio, so nothing where you're really pushing the intensity too much, can be really effective for fat loss. And where I would say don't exercise in a fasted state in your fasting window would be with really high intensity exercise. I wouldn't recommend that. I have done it myself. I've done a few times. I've done really intense workouts in a fasted state, and I'm pretty well fat adapted. I've been fasting for many years, but it crushed me for the rest of the day. I was okay during the workout, but later on I felt horrible. And the reason is that we utilize different energy systems when we're doing higher intensity exercise. So fat takes a lot of oxygen to burn into energy. So it's not very efficient to do that during really high intensity. So we need more carbs in that higher intensity. So because of that reason, I wouldn't recommend to do higher intensity exercise in a fasted state. And it can also be very overly stressful to the body, especially to the hormonal system. It can really push the adrenal glands to pump out a lot of cortisol and a lot of stress hormones, which generally, for most people, we're trying to minimize the output of those hormones and trying to balance things out. So lower intensity, yep, if you're fat adapted and you feel like you're not getting any low blood sugar symptoms, Higher intensity, probably not ideal.